So now it just says find the slope. I don't have to graph it. Can I graph it to find the slope? Yes. But I want to show you how to do it without graphing. So you know that these points are x, y, x, y. Mark 1 on the first one and 2 on the second one. I can go the other way, but it makes just as much sense that way. Slope equals y2 minus y1, x2 minus x2 minus x1. So now all I'm going to do is substitute. Here's y2. y2 is negative 7 minus y1. There's y1 is 4. x2 right here, 6. x1 right here, negative 2. And now I just have to clean up the mess. Negative 7 and negative 4, they're both negative. I add them together, minus 11. Here's a minus minus, which is a plus. And 8 plus 2, or 6 plus 2 is 8. So my slope is negative 11/8. So when we're looking at slope, we have the slope of a horizontal and a slope of a vertical line. The slope of the horizontal line is 0. The slope of a vertical line is no slope. If you were going to plug them into the equation, what you would find here, again, you know your y equals 3, you would end up, when you did the problem, which I talk about in the original lesson, so go back and watch it if you're having some confusion, you would end up with a number on the bottom with a 0 on the top. And that's okay. I can have 0 to spread out. So if I'm going to pass out in my class, I have 0 pieces of candy to pass out to my class. How many does everybody get? None. No problem, I get that. Down here, what you'll have is you'll have some number on the top and a 0 on the bottom. So I have $7 sitting here on the table, and I'm going to split it up among 0 people. Somebody has to have it. Can't split it up among 0 people. So if there's a 0 on the bottom, it's no slope at all. If there's a 0 on the top, it's a slope of 0. All right, so let's look at the slope. Let me go over there. All right, find the slope of this equation. If we can get in the slope-intercept form, we'll find the slope right here in front of the x. So we want the y by itself, mx plus b. The b and the m and the x, pardon me, are on the right side. So we need to get this y by itself. We're solving an equation. We want the y to be alone. So we're looking here, we need to get rid of the 4x. 4x is a positive 4x, not this negative we have to look at. We're looking in the front here. So if I'm going to take 4x minus 4x, this gives me a 0. And you're left with negative y. These are candy corn and Smarties. They're two different things. I cannot add them together. So I have a negative 4x and a positive 5. I want mx plus b. So that's why I put it in that order. There's still this negative here, and you have the choice. You can multiply everything by a negative and see what happens, or divide everything by a negative. Same thing. So I'm going to multiply this by a negative 1, negative 1, negative 1. Negative times a negative is a positive y. Negative times a negative is a positive. Negative 1 times positive 5 is a negative. 1 times 5 is 5. So now looking at this part, I know my slope. My slope is right here. That's my m. That's my slope. Okay. All right, so my slope is 4. Now let's graph using slope and y-intercept. So this is what I was talking about a little earlier. You can use this method anytime you want. Again, you have to get the y by itself. So in the case of this problem, we need to move this. It's a positive, it's adding, so I'm going to subtract 3/5 from both sides, 3/5 x. 3/5 x minus 3/5 x is a 0, and I'm left with y. Over here I get minus 3/5 x and minus 3. Okay, so now this is my slope and this is my y-intercept. Remember that this is your y. The y-intercept is where it crosses over the y. So you have minus 3 right here is where it's going to cross over the y. We know our slope is negative 3/5. So again, I always go up, and if it's negative, I go to the left. Positive, I go to the right. So I'm going to go up 5 or up 3. It's negative, so I'm going to go left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the negative direction. So that kind of helps me remember, that's right, that's what a negative is. And boom, there's my equation, or my line of the graph. A little easier, but sometimes harder for people to see. All right, so now we're given a graph, and they want us to write the equation. And we know we've got y equals mx plus b. It's there, we know it. So if I could find out the y-intercept and the slope, I plug it in and I'm done. Well, look, here's my y-intercept. Right here it crosses at 3. So y equals, I'm going to come over here in the intercept and add a positive 3. My slope, well, I'm going to start here for my slope. I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, and to the left 1, 2, 3, 4. So I went up 3, but I went negative 4 to the left. So my slope is negative. Now I would check myself. I go, okay, wait, intercept is 3. Okay, to get here, I have to go up 3 and over 4. Now let's say you forgot that, especially it's in the middle of the test. You can do it another way. A little more work, but here's what you would do. You want to use your slope intercept, or excuse me, your slope equation. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, and this is 0, 3. Okay, so now xy, decide which one's going to be your 1 and which one's going to be your 2. y2 is 0 minus y1. Right there it says y1 is 3. x2 is 4. And x1 is 0. So in the case of this problem, I get negative 3 over positive 4. So I got the same slope. So again, the reason that I would do this is if you can't understand this, or you get freaked out in the test, and you're like, I don't know what to do. Well, you have 2 points. Find your slope. So y equals mx plus b. Well, if my m is 3/4 x, I don't know my b. Now to find my b, I have to plug in a number, either one of the two. I'm going to use this one just because. So y is 3, x is 0, and okay. So here I get 3 equals 0 plus b, so b is 3. So now I know my b, I know my m, so y equals m x plus b. Much easier, takes less time, but if you're struggling, this might not be the best way for you. All right, so now we're writing an equation with a slope and a point. So we've got the point, we have the slope. So we go to our y equals mx plus b. We know what the slope is, so we're going to add that into our equation, 3/4. But we don't know the b. If we had a number for b, we'd be done. Well, what we do is we take our point and we plug it in and find b. So y is 3, x is 4, 3 equals, well here, you have a 4 on top and a 4 on the bottom, that's 1. 3 divided by 1 is 3. Remember your mirror, I forgot to write it. This is a positive 3, so I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. This gives me a 0. B equals 0. So I go all the way back up here. Y equals m 3/4 x plus b. Now you can leave it like that, or you can add the 0. Either one is correct. Now they gave us 2 points and they asked us to graph it. So again, we need to have our slope. So we're going to do y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So again, label them xy, xy. Make this one your 1 and this one your 2. Doesn't matter. This is y2 is negative 3. Oops. Minus, what's my y1? 5. x2, negative 1, minus x1, negative 3. Negative 3 and negative 5 is negative 8. Here's a minus minus, so this is a plus. One's positive, one's negative, we subtract. 3 is bigger than 1, so I get 2, and I get a positive 2 because 3 is bigger than the 1. Now, 8 on top, 2 on the bottom, I can divide the 8 by 2. So negative 8 divided by 2 would give me negative 4. So my slope is negative 4. So I have y equals negative 4x plus b. And now I use what I just did a minute ago. I pick a point. I think I'm going to use this one. Doesn't matter which one. Negative 3 equals negative 4 times negative 1. This is the x and the y, plugging it in to find the b. Negative 3 equals, let's see, negative times a negative is a positive. 4 times 1 is 4. Boom. We're going to take that 4 and we're going to subtract it from both sides. This is negative 7 over here. 4 minus 4 gives me a 0, and I'm left with my b. So now I have my b and my m. Y equals m, negative 4, times x plus b. And b is negative 7. And there you go. So now let's talk about parallel and perpendicular lines. If two lines are parallel, they have exactly the same slope. So for example, this is a negative 1 and a negative 1. They are parallel. But they have to have a different y-intercept, and this one does. If it's the same y-intercept, it's the same exact line. And go back and watch the video if you're still struggling on parallel and perpendicular lines. When you have a perpendicular line, one slope is positive and one is negative, and they're reciprocals. So looking here, one's negative and one's positive. Are they reciprocals, 4 and 1/4? Then they are perpendicular. So the directions ask us, tell if the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. We need it in y equals mx plus b form. So we're going to start with this bottom one. We need to get the y by itself, so we got to get rid of this negative 4x, and we have to get rid of this 4. We do addition and subtraction first, so we're going to get rid of that 4x. Sorry about that. This is a 0, negative 4x and positive 4x, and I'm left with 4y. Here I can't add anything together because one has an x and one doesn't. Now I divide by the 4. This is multiplication, so the opposite would be dividing, and I divide every term by that 4. Y equals 4 divided by 4 is 1, and I get x plus 3. So now I know my slope is 1, and I know my y-intercept is 3. So now I'm going to take the other equation, x plus y equals 6. Okay. I'm going to get the y by itself. It's a positive x. If I subtract the x, it will go away. X minus x does go away. Positive y. And we like the x first. So now, first, is it parallel? Well, the slopes are different. Negative x and positive x. This is a positive one. This is a negative one. So they are not parallel. Perpendicular. One's positive, one's negative. Now they are reciprocals, but they're kind of hard to think about this. The reciprocal of 1 over 1, or 1, is the same thing as 1. So they are reciprocals, and one's positive, one's negative. This one is perpendicular. Again, if you're still struggling on any of these topics, please go back and watch the full video. This is meant just as a quick review before you take the Chapter 7 test.